Good morning and welcome to the program, the show. It'd be good if I knew English this early in the morning. And this is even pre-recorded, so think about that for a second. I'm Beth Kirsty, your hostess. This is our weekly half-hour public affairs show. Welcome to In Touch. And thank goodness Carolyn is here because she's like, she knows me. Otherwise, we would be in trouble. At the end of the program today, let me at least say this to you. I will give you all the ways, the myriad of ways that you can contact me so that if you are a nonprofit group organization here in the Hudson Valley or a company here in the Hudson Valley helping out a nonprofit group organization, and there are issues that are of concern to you, we want to make sure that you have a voice and that we can get you on the show. So at the end of the program, we'll tell you that. So Carolyn Torella is here, and thank God she knows me, and she knows me well, and she's already laughing because English, this should be fun, don't you think?
It should be really
This
fun.
should be really good, and aren't you nervous that you're here? Carolyn is the Communications Director for the Hudson Valley region of the American Heart Association. So Carolyn, thank you, especially after the way the show started, that you're here, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I think it'll be all fine.
I'm not worried.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
I'm not worried.
Once we get going, it's all good.
That's right. So obviously people know the words American Heart Association, but I don't know that they know how much impact and the work that's done and the research that's done. I mean, I think the last time we were really talking about the Heart Association was the Heart Walks.
Correct.
The Duchess Ulster Heart Walks. Yep. So how did those go? How did that go this year?
Oh, they were great. They were really phenomenal. And thank you to Town Square Media for supporting us with PSAs and all the Dave event support that you guys do. We are so grateful for everything you do. And everybody in the community as well. We had thousands of people come out for the event. And we were able to raise, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think it's well over $400,000. So
great,
really, really good job.
Beautiful.
And people are coming out. Families are coming out. Survivors, their families, and that's what we're really talking about is that heart disease and stroke are survivable. And and we want to talk about prevention. So that's what the Heart Walk's all about. So we're really, really happy to have that done.
That's beautiful.
Moving on.
But I always like, because, we do these events and we really get geared up. And you really, when you talk about, like you said, survivors will come with their families. And there's always a moment where there's the red cap survivors and you recognize people. And there's a moment of silence for those people who did not survive it.
Right.
And that's really powerful.
Yes. When
you're there that day. Mm-hmm. Because you know that there are families and there are, like, for instance, I don't think I know anyone whose life has not been impacted by heart disease or stroke.
Right.
And that is really scary.
Yes. I mean, it's the number 1 in 4 killers. A stroke is the number 3 killer of women. So when you think about that, the numbers are really in the millions of people who, we lose to heart disease and stroke every year. So, and that's really why we're here today, to talk about lives that we can save.
Yes.
From a leading killer, which is sudden cardiac arrest. And the reason we really focus on this is because it's such a scary thing. There are no symptoms for cardiac arrest. Someone can be very fine and well and healthy, and in the next moment they are unconscious because their heart has stopped beating or started beating irregularly.
Right.
So it's a very scary thing. It can happen to anyone, children all the way through adulthood. Yeah. Men, women, it doesn't discriminate based on your race. So it's a very frightening thing. And we just don't know enough about it, which is obviously why we support research. The American Heart Association is the leading funder of scientific research for cardiovascular disease in the nation, second only to the federal government. And we're funding research in the Hudson Valley at a tune of $1.43 million.
Wow.
We fund 5 researchers in the Hudson Valley and Valhalla at a New York Medical College. So, they're doing great work. And we know that's where our future is, trying to save more lives from heart disease and stroke. But this is one that's very, important that everybody knows something about cardiac arrest, because when it happens, 80% of the time it happens out of the hospital. It happens in the community and at home, which means that if someone's suffering from cardiac arrest, it'll probably be someone someone you love, and you really want to have the skills ready to go if it happens, because the minutes really do count. You only have about 3 to 6 minutes to help someone.
See, that makes me nervous because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know.
Okay.
I do not know. A training was a long time ago.
Right. But, studies have shown that
changed,
even if you've had,
I feel like I wouldn't know what to do.
Training, you are probably, scientifically, they've shown it with research, more apt to provide those skills to a cardiac arrest victim than if you never had training at all.
Okay.
We've had when we had a campaign last year. We had a 1-minute campaign, a video campaign where we did and shared it on social media and throughout our networks. And a woman had seen it, and it was just our 1-minute CPR, hands-only CPR training video.
Right.
She had seen it. She went out hiking with her husband like a month later on a trail in Boston. He dropped from a cardiac arrest right on the trail. And from that 1-minute training, that was the only training she had, she was able to do compressions well enough to keep him alive until the ambulance got there. And they were able to resuscitate him. So
the hair just stood up on the back of my neck.
I know, it's scary. And, and this is the thing, there was actually a very compelling new PSA out of Australia that came out because they realized that their CPR and first aid numbers were too low in the community and that people were dying at a very high rate of cardiac arrest because nobody knew the skills. So they came out with some very compelling PSAs, similar to what we have in America for the smoking campaign. You've seen them.
Yes.
Very graphic images. And it's a very, heart-stopping image, excuse the words, but of a child who's playing near a pool and a mom is sitting nearby. She's reading a book or something. All of a sudden, the next thing she looks up, the child is not swimming in the pool anymore and he's submerged. And then she leaps into the pool to try to help. But the PSA, it's a very dramatic PSA. She's basically sitting on top of the water under on a glass thing and she's banging on the top of the water and she cannot reach him. And the tagline at the end is, if you don't know how to help, you cannot help.
Wow.
So and then the tag is, learn CPR and first aid. So it really does come down to that. So if someone were to drop down, next to you in the community or you witness a cardiac arrest, would you know what to do rapidly? It's important for you to call 911. It's important for you to know what to do in that kind of emergency. So that's what we want. That's what the American Heart Association wants. People to understand these skills and be able to perform them, well in the emergency when it happens. So to save a life, you really have to get it going immediately. And when it does happen, you increase that victim's chance of survival 2 or 3 times if they had, not received any CPR training. So the American Heart Association knows that, cardiac arrest is a major killer in New York State and in the country. So, strategically, we're like, well, what can we do to help this situation? We know survivability is too low. It's only about 10% in New York State. So 10% of cardiac arrest victims survive, 90% don't. And, the majority of those people die because they didn't get help right away. And you can ask any, EMT or fire department, personnel, ambulance people, and ask them how many people have survived where CPR was not performed by a bystander on site before you got there. And the answer will be most times 0, because it needs to be started immediately when you see the victim collapse. So in witnessed collapses where you see someone go down, in an adult or a teenager, but not a child or an infant, those victims need breaths. You can perform hands-only CPR. So basically there's 2 steps to hands-only CPR. If you witness a teen or adult suddenly collapse, you check briefly for a pulse, call 911, and push hard and fast in the center of the chest with the heel of your hand to the beat of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. It actually had that sound, but it probably won't play because I'm asking it to play. But
that's a great thing, though, so that
yes,
because you wonder what's the rhythm,
right?
How many? What do we need to do?
And it's 100 beats per minute is basically the Staying Alive song, and there are lots of songs with 100 beats per minute, but we like that one obviously. And if you
that's a great reminder.
If you do the beats to Staying Alive, it's 100 beats per minute, which is basically this rhythm. And people are afraid, like if I do it, someone might get hurt. I don't want to hurt them, but really anything you do is better than nothing.
Yes.
But calling 911 is extremely important. We live in the Hudson Valley. We have a very advanced EMS response system.
Yep.
The state police have AEDs in their trunks. The fire departments have AEDs. We have public access AEDs. So the chances of you getting an AED on scene and an emergency responder is pretty quick. But you need to start CPR first. So what the American Heart Association is doing across the country is trying to get CPR training in the schools. Because we know we can train a mass of students if we get it in the curriculum or if we get it in health class or in gym class. Because we can train thousands of kids every year. And when you train students, they're not afraid to learn CPR. Like you train a teenager, and we know studies from Canada, kids as young as 12 years old can learn hands-only CPR and do effective compressions. We know they're not afraid to learn. It's just like another thing on the curriculum. So in White Plains recently, we just did a mass hands-only CPR training. We did 500 kids in 2 days at White Plains Middle School. And they had mannequins that they borrowed from the EMT and fire departments, health departments, and they had some on site. And they trained 500 kids in 2 days in hands-only CPR. They watched the video, which is a 1-minute training video, and they were able to perform compressions. They learned how to use an AED, and the whole thing was completed in under half an hour.
Wow.
500 kids. So we know it can be done. I know locally, John Jay High School and Ketchum High School in the Wappingers Central School District actually teach the Heart Saver course, which is a full that's the course you probably took a long time ago, the 2-hour course, where you're learning breaths and compressions. Now, if they can get that done.
See, that.
Right. We know that they can get other schools can get 22-minute hands-only training. Or like White Plains, where they had the 1-minute training plus hands-on compressions. So it can be done in a various, number of ways. There's a school in Long Island that does it. They do the full Heart Saver course. So you get completion cards. They've had 18 saves out there in Long Island. I know the Wappingers and Ketchum combined, I think, have had over a dozen.
Wow.
So that's people who have graduated with the skills and have gone off into the community and were able to use their skills to help save a life. So that's what we're trying to do. And so we're trying to get this bill passed in New York State called the CPR in Schools Bill. And we really want this passed because we know we're going to train a new generation of heroes in our school districts. And it'll be like tens of thousands of students getting trained every year if the bill passes. So, it's a challenge, though, because we had initially gone on a path to try and make it required. There was some pushback because it was an unfunded mandate, and they were like, schools didn't want to have another thing they had to do where we weren't providing funding. But with this circumstance, in the instances I've told you about, all of these trainings are provided free or low cost with a few mannequins on site and donations from community support, because the ambulance and the EMT and the fire departments, they want you to know CPR.
Right.
They want to help you learn CPR because that helps them save lives. Local hospitals, they want you to know CPR so they can help save lives.
Right.
We're very fortunate right now to have the support of Westchester Medical Center. They're doing a regional CPR, hands-only CPR initiative where we're training people at every heart walk. We're giving away free CPR anytime take-home kits, which is, I have one here, but you can't see it on the radio. It's a very nice box.
We'll take a picture up. It'll be on the post on the websites. Don't worry.
And, it's a 22-minute take-home kit where you learn CPR, hands-only CPR at home in 22 minutes. There's a DVD and there's an inflatable little compression mannequin that you can try. And then we want this kit to be shared. Usually it's shared on average 4 times outside the family. So we know when we give one away, we're training 4 or 5 people with the one kit. So we're able to give those out through the sponsorship with Westchester Medical Center. And there's a bunch of community events. They've been doing corporate training, hands-only CPR. So we're training thousands of people with this one sponsorship. But, anybody can learn hands-only CPR by visiting heart.org/hands-only CPR. And you can watch the 1-minute video. And it's very easy. As I said, it's just really 2 steps. If you witness an adult or teen collapse from cardiac arrest, you call 911 and start pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of staying alive. So that's 100 beats per minute. And that gets that victim to stay alive long enough
to get help.
Because most likely that victim will also need an AED, a defibrillator to restart the rhythm correctly. And that can be provided by the advanced medical professionals that come, the EMTs, the state police, the fire department. But we're the first step. Bystanders are really the first few links in the chain of survival we talk about. So the first step is calling 911, starting CPR.
Yeah.
If there's an AED on site that you know of, retrieving the AED as quickly as possible and using it on the victim. As the ambulance people arrive, then they take over. But if we don't get that first 3 steps taken care of, we're in trouble. So what we want people to realize, what does cardiac arrest look like? So cardiac arrest can be, you're walking along and the person just collapses. They might or might not grab their chest. They might just fall to their knees and fall down. Maybe they're in class and they're just sitting at their desk and they collapse. They've got no pulse. Their lips are turning blue because the blood is not circulating.
Right.
It could be, most cardiac arrests in America happen because someone has a prior heart condition like, clogged arteries or that kind of thing. But there are other ones where you just have an irregular heartbeat, some congenital disorder that this is the first symptom, is the cardiac arrest.
Wow.
So that's
scary.
That's very frightening. So obviously, if you have someone in your family with a heart condition, it behooves you to learn CPR. First, start out with hands-only CPR. If you can get the advanced training, take that as well. Also, people, it's summer. It's almost summer. People have pools. People are swimming. Drowning is one of the leading causes of death in children under 12. And, we know that that's because accidents happen. Accidents do happen.
Right.
So we want you to be prepared in the event of an emergency. And with children, especially in infants, you need to learn a special CPR.
See, and that's what I have to learn.
Yes. And it's
I have
really
to learn
easy. You
that.
can take a 2-hour class. A lot of classes you can do online now, and then you do the performing of the skills face to face. But if anybody wants to learn those, you can visit heart.org/CPR, and then you just enter what kind of class you want to take. So if it's infant and child CPR, first aid, you can take that, and you put in your zip code, and it'll show you all the local class offerings.
That's great, because with Bentley, I need to learn that, because I often wonder that. I'm like, because I know there was a switch into hands-only CPR, and then just listening to you talk this morning, talking about how if it's a baby and toddler, they need breaths.
Correct.
That's a different thing.
Right.
See, I don't know that.
Yep.
So
because
I
they're
need to get
smaller,
myself...
Right, and their heart rate is faster, and there's just not enough oxygen in their bloodstream to circulate. So that's the change was made in 2008. Yep.
So I'm going to go on, and that's what I'm going to do.
Good.
It's heart.org/CPR.
Yep.
And then they'll give you a list, put in the zip.
Yep.
And then all that. So,
that's right. Or you can also buy a CPR Anytime kit for infants and children.
Okay.
Which teaches you the breaths as well. But it's also a take-home kit. And that's great for grandparents, caregivers, anybody who doesn't have time to take the full course will learn enough to help save a life of an infant and a child with the CPR Anytime kit. And if you wanted to buy one of those, it's shopcpranytime.org.
I'm writing this down. Also, I want to make sure that folks know that this show is up in fact, you may very well be listening to it on the website of your favorite station. If you are listening to this, then please read some of the text, because I will do some hyperlinks within the writing of this so that you know the heart.org/CPR, the shop CPR Anytime you just mentioned. We'll have all those. I will get all those that Carolyn mentioned, and they're all right here in the post if you are right now listening online. If you're listening on air, head to the website of the station you're listening to, and all that information will be there. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that.
Absolutely. And, like I said, it's not a difficult skill. It's really just interlocking your fingers with your the palms of your hands on top of each other and pushing with the heel of your hand over the center of the chest with the weight towards your shoulders, so that you're just like a lever on the chest, and pushing down about 2.5 inches and releasing up. So you'll see, when you watch the video, and we want everybody to watch that 1-minute video at
we'll have a link up.
We'll have a link. CPR. But that's the first one. Take that, and then if you can take a longer course, that's even better, because then you're more prepared. Because it's really important to act quickly. They only have 3 to 6 minutes before oxygen deprivation happens and tissues start to die. So brain tissue, heart tissue, other organs will fail, and memory loss and all that horrible stuff.
Yeah.
So, the idea is to make sure you know what it looks like when it happens and to act quickly when it does. So we're also trying to push our legislators in New York State to support this bill, and we've had a campaign going on during the month of May called the So Many Reasons campaign, where we've shared 22 stories of cardiac arrest, either survivors or their families, for people who've lost someone. And it was 22 stories based on how many legislative days were left in the session to try and pass this bill. So we shared 22 stories, and 6 were from the Hudson Valley. So just recently we shared Kevin Ford's story, and he's from Suffern, New York, and he had a cardiac arrest when he was 49. And his daughter, who was just a teenager at the time, she took CPR training because she was becoming a lifeguard, and she saved his life. She saved her father's life. And our campaign photo is him and his daughter on her wedding day. So he was able to give her
okay, that
away.
makes me cry.
I know, right?
Okay, that, you know what? I was doing so well and not crying during this particular topic, and it went out the window.
I know, I got the goosebumps. And I hear these stories all the time, and it still gets me. But but we're ready. That's, we're going to be ready. We're ready if it happens, God forbid. Carla Leonard of Yonkers, she was a teacher at a school in White Plains, and she used to have an AED above her desk, like where she sat, just where her desk was located. There was a defibrillator, like, because every school has one now, above her desk. You used to hit her head on it when she would stand up, and she used to hate that AED until she had a cardiac arrest at school. And they were able to use the AED above her head, and someone on staff knew CPR and was able to save her life.
Wow.
And her daughter is graduating high school this June.
Yeah, okay, see, there's another tier.
It's a killer. And then we have other stories. And the story we shared just recently is of, sadly, Vincent Liguanti. And his family was from Spring Valley. Now, he passed away. He was only 16 years old, and he had cardiac arrest at home. And he was, a volunteer firefighter. He was going to become someone who helped the community. He was, good in school. He helped people. He was always wanting to help people. He was a great kid. Everybody had lots of nice things to say about him, and he was lost to cardiac arrest. So his mom has become our advocate for this campaign to get CPR training in schools, because she doesn't want another family to lose someone they love to something, if someone had done CPR, that it kills her. So we have other stories, Caitlin Forbes from Rhinebeck. She survived. She was a softball player, and she went down during a softball game as a teenager. Kate Weigel, she's from Yorktown. She was a volleyball player. She suffered a cardiac arrest during summer tryouts. And none of them had prior symptoms, as I said.
I was going to say, when you talk about teenagers, I have to admit, you think, no.
Right.
There's no way. And every year I'm reminded that I believe that falsely, even at the Heart Walk kickoff luncheon with the honorees for that particular year, there's little people.
Yes.
I mean, little people.
Right. Yes. Teenagers.
That just.
Yep. Yep. Little Anna Gercio, who used to work at our office, her little brother, they're from Hyde Park. He suffered cardiac arrest during a Little League game. And they had just installed, I think, an AED at that baseball field donated from, I think, the Lions Club or some local community group. So the coach knew that they had an AED on site. There happened to be like a off-duty cop or something in the stands. And, just everybody rushing. They were able to save his life. So that's really what it comes down to. It's really just witnessing it, doing something very quickly, and starting the hands-only CPR. That can help save a life. And that's what this bill is all about. So June 1st through 7th is CPR AED Awareness Week, which is, a great time to talk about this issue because it is one of the leading killers, if not the leading killer in New York State. So we want everybody to know. I mean, it should be as commonplace to know hands-only CPR as you would know how to use a fire extinguisher.
Right.
Which is why, the survivability from fires is really, really good nationwide because they train kids when they're very, very little, obviously, to know what to do in the case of a fire. Every little kid knows. Stop, drop, and roll. They need to close a window. They need to get low, stay out of the smoke, leave the building, meet at a safe place. Every little kid can recite those things by the time they're out of 4th grade. So what we want is to have everybody trained in sudden cardiac arrest survival build. How do you survive? How do you help someone survive cardiac arrest? Well, this is what you do. You know what it looks like. You call 911. You push hard and fast in the center of the chest. So we want it to be just that easy, that responsive. We want people to know, everybody to know, what to do in the case of cardiac arrest because it happens more than fires. So statistically, you will probably be more. You would know someone with cardiac arrest more than you know someone who had experience with a fire.
I have to tell you, it is a bit shocking to me that we have to try to have a law passed.
Right, that it's not in school
that it's not already in the school curriculum. I feel a little stupid that I didn't know that, but I'm shocked that we have to try to get legislators. First off, I don't even know why there's an argument. I agree. I don't understand why would there be an argument? What would a school district I don't understand.
And it's become so much easier since 2008 when the science really started showing that starting compressions first was actually better for victims. So we were able to say, you don't even have to do the breaths anymore. There's enough oxygen in their bloodstream when you witness the collapse. And within, assuming that the emergency responders get there around 4 minutes or earlier, that you don't have to do breaths.
Right.
So we were able to change the rule of what we were asking for in the bill to make it hands-only CPR and not the full CPR training. So that reduced the cost to either, nil or nothing.
Right.
Which is why we know that schools are doing it already, as we said, either the full course or hands-only CPR training. And like White Plains Middle School just proved, in 2 days they trained 500 students in gym class. So it was something they were already going to. They didn't need a fancy assembly to do it. They just planned a month in advance or 2 months to get all the equipment in-house. Talked to the committee and said, this is how we're going to run it. And it was, streamlined. The kids walked in. They had already been introduced to the mannequin in previous classes, so there wasn't that, moment of, oh, what's this thing, and goofing off. They knew what it was. They were all lined up.
Right.
They sat down. They watched the video. They started the compressions. They learned the AD, and it was all done in a gym class time. So that's what we want to help the education committee understand how important this is. And we want people to get involved too, because our Year the Cure advocacy group is really our online group of volunteers that really talk to their legislators on a regular basis and talk about what's important to them with regard to healthcare issues. So we're really talking, we're asking people to support this bill on bcprsmart.org to go in and sign up It's really quick. You put your name and your address in there and your phone number and your email, and then it tells you who, it'll send you an action alert, and it'll say, if you want to support the CPR in Schools bill, please send this email.
Nice.
And it picks out your legislator based on your zip code and address.
So we'll link to that to that on the website too.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And we're having an assembly actually next week, June 3rd, Tuesday. And we are meeting in Albany with a lot of volunteers, and we're going to do a CPR training there in the well of the Capitol. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be meeting with legislators to ask for this bill to be passed.
Great. That's great. Okay, so I have a lot of links I have to get.
Yes.
So we're gonna get all those up. And yes, June 3rd is Tuesday.
Yes.
I had to stop and think too. And
Monday's the Memorial Day threw me off. It's just like suddenly everything's all confusing.
Everything is all confusing. We have about maybe 4 minutes left. So what areas do you want to get to? Do you want to wrap up? Again, I want to remind everybody that there will be links to everything in the article on the website of the station that you're listening to.
I just want to, talk. Maybe we'll talk about summer stuff because summer's coming.
Yes,
it is. It is coming soon. And we talked about CPR safety, making sure that CPR, especially if you have a pool, if you have children near a pool, to be safe, to use pool locks, to get kids trained in swimming as well, and also for inexperienced swimmers. There's a lot of dangers, especially if you take kids, you're taking a group of kids or something to a water park or something, or a public pool or a lake or an ocean, and you're not sure of the abilities of the swimmers that you're with. It's really important to watch the children and to assess how good they are at swimming, to always watch the water. It is such a frightening thing if you ever witnessed at a lake or something where there's a child missing near the water, and you never want to have that happen. So just to always be safe when it comes to water safety. It's no CPR, but also summer's coming. It's going to get hot, and we want everybody to also be aware of heat stroke and heat exhaustion, and to make sure you're keeping yourself hydrated, not exercising during the hottest hours of the day, but to make sure you do exercise, because you need to get 30 minutes per day to maximize the prevention of heart disease and stroke. It really does make that big a difference, getting 30 minutes every day, whether it's walking 15 minutes early and 15 minutes late when it's cooler. And also, recognizing that heart patients, children, and the elderly are also at higher risk for heat stroke and heat exhaustion, to make sure that those people are hydrated in the shade and cool down a lot. Especially the children, they're not able to tell you what's happening to them.
Right.
So to keep them cool, and everybody use sunscreen, even though that's not our mission, but
everybody
make sure you use sunscreen.
Right.
After my son just came home from the lake, fried, please use sunscreen.
Please use sunscreen. I'm with you on that. I've had sun poisoning 3 times in my life when I was younger. I walk outside 1001, 1002. Okay, that's it. I'm burnt.
It's that ozone thing. I know it.
I just stay inside. People make fun of how pale I am. I
just
don't
wear
care.
like a long sleeve cotton shirt, and that helps.
Yeah,
and with the ticks too. We'll just cover it all around.
We're just going to cover every single health thing that you need to watch out for. I just stay inside. Is really all I do.
We'll just get the bubble out.
Again, they make fun of me like, "Woo, hi Casper." Like, thank you. I know that, but I'm healthy.
It's healthy. It's a healthy white. It's a healthy white glow.
That's what I always tell myself. So knowing that we're going to put links on the post, what is the main website that people can go to, and then they can kind of search around and find where they need to be?
We want people to sign up to help us pass this bill. So we want you to visit bcprsmart.org.
bcprsmart.org.
Yep.
Okay.
And go on there and sign up. And you'll be able to get the regular CPR information from those pages as well.
Okay.
But any information you ever want about anything related to cardiovascular diseases and stroke, just visit our main page, heart.org. And it has information there about the CPR classes as well.
That's a beautiful thing.
So that's great.
Any closing comments, as we have about 30 seconds left?
We just want everybody to have a great heart-healthy summer.
Yeah.
Eat healthy, eat those healthy salads and get into that now, because it's all starting to come into the farm markets.
Yeah. It's going to be in your garden soon.
That's healthy, delicious eating.
Right.
It's going to help your heart.
I agree. Carolyn, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you. Hopefully there is something that you've learned today that you can take away. Again, remember, we'll have all the links up on the post on the website of whatever station you are listening to right now. And if you would like to be on the program to talk about issues that are important to you, here's how you get a hold of me. My phone number, 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. You can email me, beth.christie@townsquaremedia.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest. I'm there. So get get a message to me, find me, and we'd love to have you on the program. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.